যেহেতু আমাদের বিলা চেয়ারম্যানকে আমরা আজকে পেয়েছি, এই রেস্ট্রিকশনটা যদি আমরা সরাসরি তুলে দিই তাহলে আমাদের খুব একটা ক্ষতি হবে বলে আমরা মনে করি না। ধন্যবাদ। আচ্ছা, এই অবস্থায় আমি আমাদের মাননীয় প্রধান অতিথিকে একটু রিকোয়েস্ট করবো তার বক্তব্য দেওয়ার জন্য। আমরা অত্যন্ত অধীর আগ্রহে অনেকক্ষণ ধরেই বসে আছি ওনার কথা শোনার জন্য। যেহেতু ওনাকে একটু আরেকটা জায়গায় যেতে হবে, আমরা ওনার বক্তব্যের পরে আবার ফেরত আসবো। আমরা আরো বেশি কিছু ওপেন ডিসকাশনে চলে আসবো। থ্যাংক ইউ।
Thank you and Assalamu alaikum. আমার কোনো লিখিত ভাষণ নাই, আমি এখানে শুনতে এসেছি আপনাদের কথা। It's a privilege, it's a humbling experience to listen to leaders of the various businesses, the various sectors, and it's great to be here with some of my colleagues. And to maybe just share some observations. Firstly, we have a historic, momentous opportunity right now to have a fair shot at some of the changes, some of the reforms that you and others would have spoken about for a very long time. There's a marketplace of ideas, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of demands, but if you jump in and if you are factual, data-based, analytical, logical, consistent with the overall objectives of reforms, I'm very confident that this is the time, this is the moment when you will have as much audience. First observation, I have said this before, of all the places that I've worked in around the world over the years, I've never felt this much respect for the colleagues that I'm working with right now. If you look at each of the advisors, but beyond the advisors, most of the people that are now working very hard day and night to try and get on top of things in this government with various capabilities, diverse backgrounds. One thing is absolutely clear and beyond doubt, which is the intention and the clarity of purpose with which they come to work every day. And that is a tremendous positive for someone like me, who would just like to get things done. It doesn't matter which ministry something belongs to, it doesn't matter what the silo is. I don't have to check whether something that we want to do goes against the personal business interest of some minister or not. I don't have to check if this project gives me a bigger opportunity for corruption and rent extraction versus that project. That is not the hierarchy with which we decide how decisions are made. So just, I wanted to make that very clear at a principle level, at a point of philosophy. This is a very different context with which we are coming into this work. Now, it's very different. It's a different matter whether we can do the job or not. That's a completely different matter. But at a first level, I do hope that people appreciate that this is the context. Secondly, I love sessions like these because it starts with a keynote. There is an analytical framework, and then we debate in very concrete terms. There is no reason to bring ideology into it. There's no reason to talk in very general terms and emotional terms. These are factual, action-based. It's basically a list of who needs to do what by when. And then we go through that list one by one. I became managing director at Barclays Investment Bank just over 17 years ago. And when that happens, you get a phone call from the chief executive, and they send you a letter of congratulations and they send you a book. And the title of the book is Execution. And the message of the book is that do not spend more than 20% of your time on policy. It's almost always clear what is it that needs to be done. It's not rocket science most of the time. The challenge is that what needs to be done does not get done. There are political economy implications in some cases. There are capability implications in some cases. There's office politics in some other cases. But that's really where we need to spend more time on, which is execution. When I see a list of things, demands, wishes that need to happen, I tend to put them into 3 buckets at the moment. There's the first bucket, which is, yeah, it looks like it's something we can do. I need to find out who are the stakeholders and let's see if I can push this forward. That's category number 1. Category number 2, this is about the design of government, or the design of the civil service, the police administration, judiciary, etc., etc. Okay, let's give it to the reform commissions. I think the business community should engage with the reform commissions a lot more than you have done before. And I understand there is a bit of a hesitation. And we've seen commissions before. The word commission sounds like it's not going to get implemented. And, is there political will behind it and all of those things? Is it something you just put together because you don't want to do something, so you refer to a commission? That is not the case. These commissions have a time-bound objective. Domestic and international players, all our friends, supporters, are looking at the recommendations that will come out of the commissions. Again, people chosen to run them are, to my knowledge, of impeccable standing. So please do engage with them. And think of the business requirements as a horizontal, a cross-cutting theme that should speak to each and every one of the commissions. What is the Police Reform Commission going to do for me as a businessman or a businesswoman? What is the judiciary reform? How should the public service reform process be done in a way that it informs me as a business? Why do they keep on moving civil servants from one ministry to the other as soon as they become technically competent on their brief? Why don't we have more private sector people in the business community? Why do we have government committees set up every other day without a single member of the private sector in those committees? Why is it acceptable that the recommendations of those committees will then be followed by the business community when you have had no stake in the design of those committees? These are the fundamental design questions that you should be certainly asking us, but more importantly, feeding the reform commissions so that they are designed into the structure of governance for years to come, way long after the interim government is gone. And I do that. I have recommendations that I'm feeding in on a regular basis right now. So please use that. And then there's the third category of reforms that are a matter of political decision making. And for that you do need a democratically elected representative government who can then take decisions on very long-term issues. So that's the third bucket in which I would put things. Coming back to the bucket that I can influence the most. The good news, it's a tragedy, but the good news is that there is a whole lot of things that can be done in the implementation bucket. I don't need to change the law to get a lot of things done at the moment. It's just doing what we said we would do. Doing it in a slightly better way. The way we do business. People talk about the ease of doing business for the business community. Think of the lack of ease of doing business inside of government. It's, in many places, an extremely complex organism that has organically developed into ways of doing things that almost by definition slow things down, that almost by definition do not want to take the risk of any downside. So we're going to have to work with those. The good thing about, first of all, the orientation of the government and the personalities of the advisors who are running these ministries is that they're all extremely keen to work as a team. If you look at many of the things that have happened so far, it has been teams of 3 or 4 advisors working together. Not asking, this is your business, this is your ministry, this is mine. I just came back from the ILO yesterday, and it was a multidisciplinary, multi-stakeholder attempt to make sure that our case at the ILO does not get escalated, because if it did, it would mean that we would lose large parts of our export markets. So we said, this is not a labor issue, this is not a commerce issue, this is not a law issue, this is a multi-stakeholder issue. And we've got a SWAT team that looks at it in that manner. So, the other advantage we have is that my role was created to sit in the Chief Advisor's office, to provide a bit of horizontal energy to some of the vertical processes that are underway in the various ministries. Because many topics are cross-cutting. And I cannot run with every single topic, but there are a few areas, particularly with regards to business and investments, where you need to bring together the various silos of government. So, if you look at BIDA, the investment authority, it's the apex authority, that is our front door to investors, international or domestic. But it really is a gateway into many other parts of government, many of which are also investment authorities. You have the PPA authority. So BIDA and BESA were collapsed together. We have BEPSA, we have the ICT authority, Parks Authority. There's the Chittagong Port Authority, for example, and there are some key ministries. There's NBR Secretary, there is the Shipping and Energy Secretary that I talk to on a regular basis. So we felt these need to be brought under a working group umbrella. And the Chief Advisor was kind enough to say, I'm going to preside over that coming together. And so we met together in Jamuna the other day, first time ever that the heads of these bodies had come together. And we rolled up our sleeves and we said, okay, let's focus on the customer journey. What does it mean for an investor from the point when they arrive to the point where they hopefully make a tangible investment? What is the whole journey and where do things get stuck? And it was a set of revelations. Okay. It was a set of revelations that that basically pointed to us the range of things we can do at the level of implementation. We'll continue doing those. The last point I want to make for today is all of the recommendations that you've made, and I have the ones written down in Shahruk's presentation, but there were many others made. If you could think about an Excel spreadsheet, which is really row by row and column by column. The first column is what is it that needs to be done? Very concrete terms. Who is it that needs to do it? By when? 3 columns, line by line, send me that spreadsheet. And at least as a quarterback, as a backstop from behind, I will keep an eye to see what's going on with each one of these. And we will try and see if we can get some progress or not. আমাকে বাংলায় কথা বলতে বলছিলেন, তো ঠিক আছে বাংলায় পুরোটা বলবো আবার নাকি একটু একটু করে বলবো?
এন্ডিং বলে যান, এন্ডিং বলে যান।
জি,
এন্ডিং বলে যান।
সামারিটা বাংলায় বলবো। আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে। তো প্রথমত যেটা বললাম, এটা আমি বারবার বলি, যে আমার সহকর্মীদের প্রতি আমার যেটা শ্রদ্ধাবোধ, যেটা সম্মানবোধ, এটা আর কোথাও আমি কখনো এটা অনুভব করিনি। আর এটা আমি বারবার বলি, কারণ এটা একটা নেসেসারি কন্ডিশন। খুবই দরকার কোনো কাজ শুরু করার আগে আমাকে চিন্তা করতে হয় না অন্য কিছুর কথা, শুধু কাজের কথা চিন্তা করতে হচ্ছে। কোথায় করাপশন হবে, কোথায় কার বিজনেসের সাথে কনফ্লিক্ট, এইসব নিয়ে আমাকে চিন্তা করতে হয়। দ্বিতীয়ত আমরা কিভাবে কাজটা করতে পারি, কার্যকর কিভাবে করা যায়, কি প্রক্রিয়ায় কার্যকর করা যায়, সেটার উপর আমরা সবচেয়ে বেশি ফোকাস দিচ্ছি। আর যেটা বললাম অনেক কিছু আছে যেটা আমরা করতে পারি, যেটার জন্য পলিসি বদলাতে হবে, আইন বদলাতে হবে, যেখানে বদলাতে হবে সেটাতেও আমরা ওপেন টু দ্যাট। আমাদেরকে বলেন, আমরা চেষ্টা করি কোথায় কি করা যায়, কিন্তু এই মুহূর্তে অনেক কিছু করা যায় যেটার জন্য আমাদের অপেক্ষা করতে হবে না। সেই ক্ষেত্রে কি করতে হবে, কাকে করতে হবে, কবের মধ্যে করতে হবে, এই তিনটা আমাকে লাইন বাই লাইন একটা স্প্রেডশিটে লিখে পাঠিয়ে দেন। আমরা এখানে আছি, আশিক আছে, আমি আছি, আপনি আছেন, আমরা আমাদের অন্যান্য সহকর্মীদের সাথে কথা বলবো। আমরা এই যে হরিজন্টালি এই জিনিসটা খুবই হয় আমাদের মধ্যে, তারপর দেখি কিভাবে আগানো যায়। যদি না যায় তাহলে আরো বলবেন। বাক স্বাধীনতার এটা হলো একটা খুবই বিরাট সুবিধা, ব্যবহার করুন। আর যেটা বললাম যে কমিশনগুলো আছে ওদের সাথেও যত বেশি আপনারা এনগেজ করতে পারেন, এটা আপনাদের জন্য, আমাদের জন্য, সবার জন্য। প্লিজ ইউজ দ্য কমিশনস। কারণ ওনাদের কাজ হলো যে আপনি যেটা বললেন আর্কিটেকচারাল যে একটা ফ্রেমওয়ার্ক, ডিজাইন ওয়ার্ক, ওনারা ডিজাইন ওয়ার্কটা করছে। ওনাদের কাজ অনেক বছর ধরে আমাদের সাথে থাকবে। এই জন্য এই মুহূর্তে ওনাদেরকে কিভাবে ইনফ্লুয়েন্স করা যায়, ওনাদের ডিজাইনটা কিভাবে করা যায়, লেখালেখি করুন, ডাটা দেন আমাদের সামনে। আমি যখন ডাটা থাকে তখন এটার সাথে আমি কাজ করতে খুবই সহজ বোধ করি। যখন ডাটা নাই, সবাই খুব ঢালাওভাবে কথা বলে, সেটা আই জাস্ট ক্যানট রেসপন্ড টু দ্যাট। এই জন্যই আপনি দেখবেন আমাদের যখন এই যাত্রাটা শুরু হলো, তখন প্রথম কাজ ছিল, প্রথম যে অ্যানাউন্সমেন্টটা হলো, আপনার কারোর মনে আছে এই সংস্কারের প্রথম কাজটা কি ছিল? প্রথম উদ্যোগ, প্রথম পদক্ষেপটা কি ছিল? ডক্টর দেবপ্রিয় ভট্টাচার্যের হোয়াইট পেপার। হোয়াইট পেপার, অনেকে হাসাহাসি করেছিল এটা নিয়ে, এটা হোয়াইট পেপার দিয়ে উই নিড এ বেসিস অফ ফ্যাক্টস। আপনি যেটা বললেন আলমোজ ভাই, যে আমাদের বেসিক ইনফরমেশন নিয়ে কোনো কমন আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ডিং নেই। আমাদের এক্সপোর্ট নাম্বার আসলে কত, রিজার্ভস অনেকদিন ধরে, এটা রিজার্ভ কি 25 billion or 20 billion? If we don't have a common basis of where we are starting from, আমাদের শুরুটা কোথা থেকে হচ্ছে, এটা নিয়ে যদি একটা বেসিক লেভেলে একটা কমন আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ডিং না থাকে, তাহলে আমরা কোথায় যাচ্ছি, কবে যাব, কিভাবে যাব, সেটা তো হবে না। এই হোয়াইট পেপারটা ওই কাজটা করবে। তার উপরে আমাদের স্ট্রাকচারাল কমিশনগুলো আছে, আরো অনেকগুলো টাস্ক ফোর্স আছে, বাংলাদেশ ব্যাংকের কিছু টাস্ক ফোর্স আছে, উনি ডক্টর আসাদ মঞ্জুর সাহেব extremely task focused, extremely execution focused. So these all matter. It's a completely different environment for you. এরকম একটা সুযোগ হাতছাড়া করবেন না। Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.